Good morning. I feel so grateful to be here with you. I feel like I've already received such a blessing in the words that each of you have shared today. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share more about my work and New Hour's mission to empower justice-impacted women and their children. Thinking about what I wanted to share today, I thought about the times we're living in, and I thought about the fact that it is no longer right in my heart to not call out injustice, to not speak out against the torture that many immigrants and their children are facing. And that torture extends to prisoners as well. Recently, I sat with a woman, her name is Marion. I've changed her name to protect her anonymity. I sat with her in one of the 12 weekly workshops that New Hour facilitates in the Riverhead and Yaphank jails. She spoke quietly, halted, eyes lowered, and she asked me, "Is there any way you can make sure my children are safe? I'm not sure they are right now, and I really need to get back to them." She began to share, as many of the mothers in the jail do, how she had left them to serve her time in jail, and how she wasn't sure where she would live after she left the jail, but she knew she had to get back to her children. We began to talk about the barriers that she and so many of the women in the jails here on Long Island face every day. Most of the barriers that women face had everything to do with domestic violence, which you talked a little bit about earlier. In fact, incarceration for women is inextricably linked to domestic violence, depression, substance abuse. We talk about the opioid epidemic on Long Island and how it is so directly linked to substance abuse that becomes substance abuse because of domestic violence. While my staff, our social worker, our program director, would spend the next few weeks with this woman working on a detailed plan for her reentry, her release, her expression stayed with me long after I left the cold, damp jail. Hitting the sunlight as I walked out of the jail, I was left with the same feeling that I had when I left prison at 22. Despair, grief, overwhelming fear of leaving prison. I was asked once, "How does this work impact you? How do you handle all the sadness and the stories that mothers and women in the jail share with you, that you hear from children whose mothers are still incarcerated?" I was surprised to be asked this because the truth is, my own life, my own time being in prison was much harder to survive than listening to someone tell me their story. It seemed such a simple thing to do, to just sit and listen, to be heard. I suddenly realized that my ability to hear and bear witness to someone else's pain was exactly what helped me transcend my own trauma. 20 years ago, Sister Elaine Roulette, who started the first children's centers in women's prisons across New York State, where children visited their mothers and still do to this day, they were finally able to bond, play board games, read together, instead of sitting across from their parent with a barrier. She invited me into her office in the children's center in the prison. I was 20 and she asked me, her blue eyes looking straight through me, "Why are you here? How did you land in prison?" I explained, teary-eyed, how family violence, a family's mental illness, had ultimately led me to prison. How I had been so fearful and unable to make my own decisions to call for help. She didn't take her eyes off mine, and while long tears began to run down my face, I was surprised to look back up and see tears in her eyes. This was the first time since I had arrived at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility that I recognized that just maybe I was worth crying for. I accepted her tears, that this woman cared about me even though I was just a prisoner. She sat in my grief, in my shame, and I felt so deeply, and she felt so deeply in a way that wasn't convenient or efficient for her busy day. It was this ability, her strength to take on my pain that allowed me to persevere. The truth was that incarceration isn't something you transcend. It's something you live through. It is something you survive because you make a mental choice to endure. Novelist and political activist Anne Lamott writes in one of her essays, "I wish grace and healing were more abracadabra kinds of things, that delicate silver bells would ring to announce grace's arrival. But no, it's clog and slog and scooch on the floor, in silence, in the dark." The truth is that we all know that to overcome the curveballs of life, it's not something beautiful or effortless. It's messy, and more often than not, it feels like at any moment we might be taken over by the things we are sure we can't survive. Depression, divorce, death of a loved one, these are the things that threaten to make us give up. And yet, by continuing to choose to live, to exist, we are actively transcending. I believe transcendence is less to do with rising above life's circumstances and everything to do with facing truth, facing fear, and choosing to continue to fight for a future that might somewhere inside it include a sliver of hope. Reverend Kim referenced my time in solitary. I spent 6 months in 23-hour lock as a 19-year-old. Prisoner William Billy Blake as they call him, he's still in solitary to this day. He has been in 23-hour lock for more than 30 years. This is deemed torture by United Nations standards, and he writes, "I'm a consummate dreamer. I'm a dreamer who refuses to accept that my dreams won't all come true, somehow ever, eventually. I'm the kind of guy who you can give 3 life bids to, still in the box for a quarter century. Beat me, literally freeze me, spit on me, take my clothes and leave me naked, even steal my money and leave me broke. And after all, I'll be thinking, okay, things are a bit tough presently, kid, but suck it up. Stay strong, because better days will be here soon, and you are going to be shining and telling." Billy's book, titled "Hell is a Very Small Place: Voices from Solitary Confinement," has still not been given to him in the prison he's in. This past Friday night, I spent a quiet meal with a half-dozen women in Queens, and among them my friend, Judy Clark, who came home last month after serving nearly 40 years in prison. She's now 69 years old. I was there with her 21 years ago. Judy lived in a cell across from mine, and what I loved about her cell, even though you couldn't go into somebody else's cell, was the fact that she had hung small pieces of artwork, sketches she had written, photos of her daughter who was 3 when she first became incarcerated. And I would peer across the hallway into her cell, and it looked so beautiful. It wasn't fancy, but it felt sacred. You've used that word here today, and I put it in my writing. All of us us knew she had 75 to life, her sentence, and there was very little hope of her ever coming home. She would die in prison, we thought, silently. We whispered. We'd see her smiling and walking and think it again. No one could go into her shoes. We hadn't understood what it would be like. We all had a date to come home. And now, Friday night, I sat with her at a table. She was home. And I realized that the simplicity, the sacredness, the peacefulness I felt that was surrounding us, it wasn't her cell, it wasn't her room, it was her. It was the essence of who she was and is that made the space sacred. She, a woman like me, made some very bad decisions. And yet, she was not just her decisions. She and I and every prisoner are more than their crimes. This is something my dear friend, mother figure, mentor, founder, and the best listener I've ever met, Barbara Allen, who's here. She joins me from Prison Families Anonymous. She has always said, you are more than your worst decisions. This morning, I honor the good in you, and I hope you will come to continue to find good in those whose paths cross yours. Thank you for allowing me to share our life's experiences.